Hi, Ann Brackett here, coming to you from my parents' basement. Pretty awesome, eh? There's all sorts of treasures down here, from my grandma, after she died, my parents' treasures that they had from years ago, or things that they found at the store that were on clearance or I thought would be awesome. Mostly a treasure trove of either crap or possibly priceless items. Now, if you work in education, how many of you feel like your work environment is like this basement? Now, I don't necessarily mean giant piles of crap everywhere, although, depending on how often you clean your office, maybe that's the case. But I think mentally, that's how we feel. We've got all this stuff on our plates, and sometimes, depending on who you are and what your strengths are, you think, oh, well, if I just had enough time, I could get all this taken care of. I could organize it, put it away, get things taken care of. So time is the issue, right? Wrong. Because no matter how much time you have, which is never enough, you're never going to get it done because somebody's always coming down and finding new deals and new things to put on your plate or in your basement. And so you end up with like a cacophony of this. And sure, sometimes, and I certainly have friends who do this, like, oh, I'm just going to stay late and finish this because I will just feel so much better if it's done. And for a short time, yes, you do feel a little bit better, but by the next morning or the next week, all filled with more stuff. All filled with more stuff because it's never ending. There's always a student who needs something. There's always an administrator who needs something or has some new idea, a thing for you to do. So what's the answer? People think it's time. If I just had better time management, if I had more time, if I could do more in a certain period of time, if I had fewer interruptions, we could take care of all of this. But that's not really true. The problem isn't time, the problem is priorities and sorting all this out. So depending on what your talents are, oh, things falling down all over the place, great. But good illustration, it's just out of control. And no amount of time will take care of it, at least not long term. Because the problem is, there could be some valuable things down here. Like I found these really, really nice cocktail glasses that I think I would like to have, but who even knew they were down here? And who has time to find that sort of thing? My mom bought these replacement birdies for badminton, and we just gave my nephew a badminton set a month ago for his birthday. So this would have been perfect to give him with that gift. But again, who knows what's down here? Just like that, in our work life, there's stuff that we do that is unnecessary. And part of that is because as an industry, I think education's gotten a little bit desperate because we need the people to come to our school, or our budgets keep getting cut, but we're expected to do more because parents expect more. And that whole cycle just continues. But we can't keep that up. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. It's not possible to get this all taken care of and all this stuff put in an orderly fashion and make it usable. Some of the stuff needs to go. So you need to stop thinking about it from a time perspective. And how can all of our talents working together, all of our strengths, help this situation? Because we need the achievers, we need the responsibility, we need the discipline to go through some of this stuff and to get stuff done, because you need to get stuff done along the way. But we also need the strategic, we need the restorative, we need all these different people working together, because some of the stuff is not valuable. When I moved in, yes, I'm living with my parents right now, but when I first moved in, my mom said, well, if you have time, maybe we can go through this and you can help sell it and get part of the profits, which I'm not against necessarily. But if you can kind of see the stuff, and there's much more stuff, like this is just one shot, a lot of it is not really worth anything. Like this bug catcher thing that is now, that I'm assuming my mom got for the grandkids who are now too old to care about it. It was only worth $2 when she bought it. So it's definitely not worth much now, if anything, and when you factor in time and all that jazz. So somebody needs to go through that and figure out, what are we doing that we don't need to do anymore? Like, we have all these new initiatives and these new fancy ways of doing things, but we often, because we're so busy, never take the time to clear out the stuff we're not using. We just keep adding on, adding on, adding on, and then in the end, we just have a bunch of stuff. Who knows how effective any of it is, because we don't have time to figure it out. And you can take the time, we'll just, this little corner here, we're gonna get it cleaned out, and that's great. But if you're not solving the underlying problem and figuring out what systems you need to be more efficient, what things that you're holding on to. Like this is my mother's dog bed from her last dog. And of course that was hard. She loved Henry. She has a new dog now. He does not like this bed, but she holds on to it. Like, what are we holding on to that we're just sentimental about? It's a program you started 10 years ago and you love it and you like doing it, but is it the best use of your time? No one takes the time to think of that for the most part, because again, we're so busy. We just keep going on autopilot. And that's not a solution to get all of this cleared out. Same thing with good deals. Oh, we think that would be an amazing program. Let's spend time doing it. Or we've already invested so much in it. But if it's not going to be a good long-term investment and it's eating up your time that could be used more effectively to help students, to make better systems, all that sort of thing, then you're really just leaving this chunk of things that's going to overwhelm you constantly and never get anything done. So again, the solution is to go outside our comfort zone, which is to basically get our heads out of our own strengths, because our strengths are awesome. But when we look at things through our strengths, which is constantly, it's looking at it the same way. So you need to get that input from other people to figure out the best way to do things. And what often happens because we're so busy is, so-and-so's complaining because, they have strategic and they don't think this is the best way. But instead of having that conversation about, okay, well, how can we fix it? Restorative. You seem to think that there's some issues here. How can we fix it and make it better for everybody so everybody's working smarter, not harder? We just don't take the time to do that. And we need to take the time because the amount of stuff on our plate, in our basement, is just overwhelming. And we're never going to get caught up just trying to go through the motions. And depending on, well, hopefully after the students leave, we'll have more time. Well, I have a break next week. I'll have some vacation days. Maybe I'll just take some days off and get this work done. That's not fair to you, and it's not realistic because, again, someone keeps going to the dollar store, someone keeps finding things on clearance and putting them in the basement. So we need to be more strategic. I have strategic, by the way, if you couldn't tell. But we need to get everybody involved in figuring out better systems to deal with the stuff that is overwhelming us constantly at work. And one of the best ways to do that is look at it through our strengths, but not just our strengths, everybody's strengths. Okay, I hope you enjoyed my parents' basement. See you next time.